Point, sir. Well, breaking news coming in. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has released a statement on the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the SCO Summit in Tianjin. My colleague Asavri is joining us at this point in time. Asavri, important points have been discussed. A 40-minute meeting extended up to 60 minutes. What started in Kazan will obviously be mentioned here today as well, or was mentioned here today as well. And of course, when both the leaders talk about the weight that they carry in terms of their civilizational importance, then this bonhomie holds a different meaning altogether.
Absolutely, Vineet. Like you said, it was a 60-minute meeting. I'm going to take a moment to delve into what exactly this statement says. And I'm going to start reading it. At noon of August 31st, 2025, President Xi Jinping met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Tianjin guest house, who was in China to attend the 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. Xi Jinping pointed out that last year's success meeting in Kazan marked the restart of India-China relations, with exchanges and cooperation between the two countries making continuous progress. China and India, two ancient Eastern civilizations and the world's most populous countries and important members of the global South. They shoulder the important responsibilities of benefiting their people, promoting unity and revitalization among developing countries, and advancing the progress of human society. Being good neighborly friends and partners for mutual success in achieving a dancing of the dragon and elephant should be the right choice for both India as well as China. Xi Jinping emphasized that this year marks 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between China and India. Both sides should view and handle India-China relations from a strategic and long-term perspective, further elevate them through the Tianjin Summit, and promote and sustain healthy and stable development of bilateral relations. First, they should strengthen strategic communication and deepen mutual trust, as long as they remain committed to overarching principles of being partners, not rivals, and providing development opportunities, not threats, for each other. China and India relations will flourish and move forward steadily. Second, they should expand exchanges and cooperation to achieve mutual benefit and the win-win result. Both China and India are a critical stage of development and revitalization. They should focus on development as their greatest common denominator, supporting, promoting, and achieving mutual success. Third, they should accommodate each other's concerns and uphold harmonious coexistence. The 5 principles of peace coexistence advocated by the older generations of leaders of China and India over 70 years ago must be cherished and promoted. They should work together to maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas and not let the border issue define the overall China-India relations. Fourth, they should strengthen multilateral cooperation to safeguard common interests. We must jointly demonstrate historical responsibility, uphold multilateralism, strengthen communication and cooperation of major international and regional issues, defend international fairness and justice, work together to promote a multipolar world, and of the international relations, and make due contributions to maintaining peace and prosperity in India, in Asia, and the world. Modi said that his meeting with Xi Jinping in Kazan charted the course of development of India-China relations. India-China relations have returned to a positive track. The border remains peaceful and stable, and direct flights are now to be, and in fact are about to resume, is the statement that has been given. These achievements will not only benefit the people of both countries but also the world. India and China are partners, not adversaries, with far more conscientious than their differences. India is in fact willing to view and develop bilateral relations for a long-term perspective. Faced with high uncertainty in the global economy, it is crucial for India and China as important global economies to strengthen cooperation. India is willing to work with China to seek fair, reasonable, and mutually acceptable solutions to the border issue. Both India and China uphold strategic autonomy and independent diplomacy, and their bilateral relations will not be influenced by third parties. Cooperation between the two countries will make the 21st century truly an Asian century, and together the two sides will strengthen the power of multilateralism in international affairs. He congratulated China on its successful assumption of the rotating presidency of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and wished Tianjin Summit a complete success. We've of course we now have an understanding and condensed the entire 60-minute meeting into this statement that has been issued by, of course, the Chinese Foreign Ministry. Vineet, back to you.
All right, Asaf, we appreciate you joining us. Let's also open Mr. Akash Jindal, senior economist, into this conversation. Mr. Jindal, well, though China has a number which is 5 times our economy, approximately around 20 trillion, there was a period in time in the 80s and the 90s and perhaps the early 2000s as well, where this GDP accelerated quite exponentially. And that's the same kind of a response the Indian economy is also telltaling right now. But is it going to be a possible scenario, Mr. Jindal, that China helps us get bigger?
Vinit, it's so pleasurable doing shows with such a knowledgeable anchor. Yes, you're very right. It was 1979, the first year when China opened up and the economy started progressing. And it was only 80s and 90s, which you have rightly said, when China progressed like anything. And that was 80s and 90s. But the reality of today is, since 2015, China is not progressing at all the same. China today is marred with many problems. One is deflation. Now, the value of things is getting reduced, not because they are producing very well. The problem is people don't have money to buy and buy things in the market because of China's debt crisis, China's real estate crisis. As far as India, yes, you are very right. India is on the same track that China was on 80s and 90s, though our approach is different, yes. With 7.8% numbers, the numbers which we have exhibited, and in fact, you were also perhaps indicating to those numbers only. Yes, we have consistently shown to the world in the past 5 years, post-corona 5 years, India is the economy on a consistent basis. We have outperformed all our peers, whether it's US, whether it's China, whether it's Germany. In fact, US, 2025, January to March, they had negative GDP growth, minus 0.5%. Germany, biggest economy of Europe, 2023 and 24, the third biggest economy of the world and biggest economy of Europe, they had negative GDP growth. China is suffering from deflation. UK, September and October 2024, they had negative GDP growth. India, consistently weathering all problems, whether it's Russia-Ukraine war, whether it's Israel issue, whether it's all these tariffs, because remember when we talk about this April to June numbers of 7.8%, these were the 3 months when the world was, I would say, use the word terrified was tariffs. 2nd April was the day, beautiful day, when reciprocal tariffs were announced. And April to June, throughout these 3 months, revision on tariff, suspension of tariff, tariffs being kept in abeyance, many of the economies being frightened by tariffs. This was the culture. And during these 3 months, India has exhibited a growth of 7.8%. Yes, India can definitely grow. And it's a great moment for India to do much higher business with China. And I agree with my colleagues and friends that, yes, the deficit needs to be reduced. But there's one thing, there's one slight point of difference, because since yesterday, I've been a part of many TV shows, Indian and global. Now, what is happening is, apart from being an economist and a business expert, I'm a businessman also. I think, unfortunately, perhaps, I don't see the trust deficit as far as China is concerned getting reduced, because China has not done anything as far as trust from their side, whether it's 62, whether it's Galwan. But I think what will happen is the issues with China, like border issue and the other issue, trust deficit, may be there, may still continue to be there, but business can be. I'll tell you, in Delhi and in India, you'll find many businessmen who don't have much good relation with other businessmen, but they are doing business with them because of viability, because of suitability. Because in business, the first thing which comes to the mind of the business is viability, which in a Delhi, any Delhi shopkeeper will tell you, padappa. Then it's suitability. Third comes friendship. Of course, friendship is also important. The viability is very much there for India and China, because China needs India because they are suffering from deflation, they are suffering from ghost towns, they are suffering from uh, real estate issues, they are suffering from debt issues, they are suffering from many corporates failing in China. So they also need India. So I think business would increase. Business would increase up to lot extent, because in India also you'll find many corporates who are dealing with each other. They'll have litigation for one issue, but for other issues they'll keep on doing business, because keeping doing business with each other suits them. So same way, I think business would increase. Trust deficit may not reduce. Seeing the nature of Chinese, seeing China for what they have been doing consistently. There also they have been consistent since 62, whether it's Galwan, whether it's helping Pakistan in Sindhu. And another beautiful thing which is going to happen is there's going to be another epicenter of activity, that is Pakistan. Now what happens is, with the newly found love which Pakistan has acquired US, now China, it's recovery time for them as far as CPAC is concerned, because CPAC, a huge money was lent by China to Pakistan on a very exorbitant, laughable rate of interest of 3.86%. Anybody who understands infrastructure funding, it's a laughable rate of interest. Now, China would be seeking that money back, and Pakistan would have to approach the new love US for that, because IMF, there are problems. The IMF has imposed many restrictions on Pakistan. Many things have been told Pakistan that you have to do this in order to have all the installments. So there would be action. Now, I think this China-Pakistan love story, there may be speed breakers, there may be issues, because money is going to be a key issue. What happens to the CPAC? Because CPAC is not at all a successful venture. In fact, 1.5 years ago, China told Pakistan that, look, we can't keep on funding the CPAC. You have to hunt for another country which has to fund that. Now, with that newly found love of US, this is going to be a huge problem for them. As far as India is concerned, yes, one thing, we are going to have increased business with China. Secondly, now we'll have a softer US, because the US, what they have been doing is, April, I was with you when they imposed reciprocal tariffs. The reason given to us was, India is charging high tariffs, so that's why we are imposing tariffs. Now, when that tariffs are being imposed 50%, now they have found a new reason. That because we are, buying fuel from Russia, which the entire world is, China is buying from Russia, EU is buying gas from Russia, now we impose. So what US is doing? US perhaps wants to impose tariffs. After imposing tariffs, they want to find a nice reason for that. And another interesting thing of US is, they want us not to buy crude from Russia. Of course, we are not going to do that. But hypothetically assuming, Vinny, just think, if we don't buy from Russia, what happens is, we have to come to open market, OPEC plus. Now, you are a knowledgeable anchor, you know it very well. If India starts buying from open market 85% of the crude oil which we import, what happens is, crude oil prices are going to increase like anything, and the biggest loser would be US, because high inflation is something which US would not like to happen.
You're absolutely right, sir. You're absolutely right. And those are some important and crucial perspectives that you have lent to our audience as well. Well, global media has also closely been following the developments in Tianjin. Interestingly, some American publications have chosen not to report on the bilateral meeting between the two. Others have focused on the border talks and rebuilding of ties undertaken by Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping. Select publications also chose to frame the meeting under the shadow of United States President Donald Trump's tariff war and the ensuing shifts witnessed on the global stage as well. Professor Singh, if there is a reset, we have spoken about what expectations India has of China. What are the expectations that China has of India? For example, the 100-odd apps that India had banned. Is there going to be a relook at that? Is that going to thaw the situation? Is TikTok going to return to India?
I have always maintained that the sudden closure of 200 plus of mobile phone applications during the tensions post Galwan was largely symbolic. It did not hit the relationship fundamentally. It was communicating displeasure. And over a period of time, this could also be, relented and revived. There is no doubt. You ask me why China needs India. Uh, India is destination for about $113 billion worth of its exports. And if its exports are coming under question with growing tensions with President Trump, it will increase India's standing in China's list of priorities as to which are the countries it wants to really sort of keep working together. Second, and perhaps more important, Chinese, the only thing that worries them is India's growing proximity with the United States. Now, if there is a tension in India and United States, Beijing has no reason not to celebrate it and try to wean India away from United States, which is not going to happen because India's relations with the United States are far more wide, deep, and prolonged. The issue of tariffs is a very limited issue of $66 billion worth of exports being under question. Even there, if you exclude some of the categories like electronics, iPhones, so far pharmaceuticals, then economists like Mr. Jindal will tell you that it is actually 32%. It's not 50%. So we have to put things in perspective, and China therefore would love to cultivate India increasingly and will make some concessions. But heart of heart, we understand that mutual skepticism, and Chinese have, remember, their issues against India, just like we have issues against China. That distrust is not going to just completely disappear over a period of time. In fact, I often say that there is no relationship where there is 100% trust. 100% trust is a utopia. There are always interests that countries pursue and they compete to fulfill their own national interests. And that kind of contest will continue, especially given the very complicated nature of China-India relationship. The fact that they're willing to manage the irritations, the fact that they're trying to find and explore possibilities where they can work together, that's a positive sign to happen. And I think both will continuously be aware of their limitations as to how far they can go. India, of course, would always remember the way China is cultivating Pakistan. Chinese remain very concerned about His Holiness Dalai Lama being here and the issue of reincarnation and so on. So there are going to be irritations, but can we manage those irritations? China in this situation finds India even more attractive to manage its international challenges. And sitting in Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit meeting here, when Indian Prime Minister, as leader of fourth largest economy, largest population country, largest democracy, friend of Western nations, will look very attractive for the Chinese and even for Russia. I mean, Monday we'll see Putin, Xi, and Prime Minister Modi restarting their trilateral meetings once again. So India is becoming increasingly attractive to both Russia and China, but India is going to stay cautious. India is not going to bandwagon any of these countries. India is too large, actually, as Foreign Minister says, to bandwagon any third country. So in that sense, India's approach will be to focus on border related issues, whether it is pilgrimage to Kailash Mansarovar, border trade, border management, sharing of river water, hydrological data, and looking at increasing our local infrastructure to make life easier for people there, make life easier for armed forces deployed there. And on that basis is how India will also be agreeable to opening direct flights and so on. So I think this is going to be an increasingly productive relationship rather than increasingly a relationship that weighs on India's mind and resources. And that should obviously lead to de-escalation and de-induction and so on, to normalize border and then start a second set of CBMs between China-India relations to make it far more productive. But that's going to take time. Nothing is going to happen in a hurry. And it's the way China and India work. I think if that begins to be a matter of irritation for President Trump, who says he won't come for even the quadrilateral security framework meeting that India is hosting, that boiling hot and cold is something we have to deal with. My assumption is he could also climb down the way he is climbing up. We'll have to just wait and watch and continue peacefully to engage him and continue with our negotiations with United States as well. And let's see how things move. In that sense, this meeting in Beijing is a symbolism and a message to United States. But it's not a message that India is closing doors on United States. It's a message that India has too many other